Hey, good morning, guys. Neil here. Happy Sunday. It's not gonna be a drone video today. It's because it's been snowing hard. All right. Hopefully, sometime this week I'll be able to fly my FPV drone. But for now, I'd like to share how I got to where I am right now, specifically with the with the type of job I'm doing. Okay, I am a principal DevOps engineer for a satellite company, and I'd like to give you a quick introduction of how I got here and where I started. So it's not really a rough ride, but the course I took back in college helped a lot because I love doing it. It was computer programming, okay? And I think that's the first thing that you have to decide and make sure you don't waste your time in picking a course right after your high school. And I already knew that I love computer programming because I started coding when I was 10. My brother gave me as a gift gave me a Radio Shack. Let me make this bigger because I had a request from one of my listeners or viewers that they cannot read the font or the letters that I was typing. So I figured out how to do it in Debian. By default, the keys are Super Alt 8 to activate it. I changed it to Control Shift Z, as in zebra. There you go. I hope. Oh, what happened? Okay, there you go. So, and then I can even make it bigger by pressing Control Shift plus symbol. All right, I think that's good enough. So yeah, like what I said, my bro, well, it keeps on moving. Why? Oh, so because it's moving. TRS-80, yeah. Okay. He gave me that, I think 1984. 1984, wow. And I did, my first coding was, basic. Go to, go sub, line, circle. And then he bought me a book. And then I followed a code which was like about 600 lines. And I copied it. There was no SVN or Git back in the days. And I just followed it. It was cool. It had numerous lines for building or making a 3D model in color red and blue, where you have to wear a red-blue 3D glass so that way you can actually see the 3Dness in that object. And the Radio Shack was connected to channel 3 or channel 4 on our TV. That's how it was. But anyways, too much about that. So like what I said, I already knew what I really love or what I'm gonna do in the future. I love computer programming, and I'm very happy that I stick to that. Okay. So fast forward to college. My course was computer science. Okay, computer science, and I did a lot of coding in Turbo, Pascal, C, Fortran. What else? I did not like databases like DBase3. I didn't like them. Fortran, that's coding, right? And then I remembered there was an AI coding back then, which we call. Oh my god, I couldn't remember. Prolog? Is it Prolog, guys? Help me put it in the chat. Um, DBase 3, and then there was one more that I forgot that we were using. But anyways, I concentrated more on the coding side, the Turbo Pascal, C Fortran, and I bought the Borland color, like blue, yellow book, and it was awesome. I also bought the Peter Norton assembly language, where it helped me write inline assembly codes inside Turbo Pascal. So I was doing some advanced stuff in Turbo Pascal back in the days. My thesis was about I built an antivirus, and I had an award in my thesis. Yeah, and it looked like a Windows 3.1. I wrote a Pascal code where it actually scrapes the Windows UI. I love the leaves, the wallpaper leaves. So I had to figure out how to build my own. I wrote my own binary version of that wallpaper, and I used some memory dump. I couldn't remember what I did back then, but it was extremely fast, even on an 8086 machine. I didn't use the for loop. It just scraped the screen really fast. So I was able to make my own wallpaper. All right. Anyways, so yeah, like what I said, I knew what I wanted. I wanted to become a programmer. So then, a friend of mine asked me to join their team in 1992. I was not finished in college yet. I had to join, and they were using C. And I got so frustrated with VI. I think I only lasted for like 2 months, and then I left the company because I had to finish my thesis. I was supposed to graduate in 1992, but I graduated in 1994 because I was so crazy about my thesis. And it was actually not just an antivirus, but it's like a full-blown like Windows 3.1 interface where I have my own file manager. I have a feature where I can inoculate files so that it can be safe from viruses. And even during my panel interview, where I was defending my thesis, they asked me, does your antivirus really work? So yeah, I had a demo. I kept a copy of a virus in a floppy disk, which contained, let me write down, possess virus. Okay, I think it was made by someone in Adamson University. Okay, it's a university in the Philippines, or maybe what's that place? LaSalle? Yeah, LaSalle. Maybe I couldn't. I think it's more of Adamson University. Yeah, but anyways, that's not important. So I enabled the inoculation on some of the exe files or com files. That's where it actually attached the virus. Every time it executes interrupt 20H, that's actually like ending the program. That's when the virus attach itself. I don't know now how viruses attaches itself to executable files like com or exe. I don't know how it does it now, and I'm interested. If you guys can comment and tell me about that, I'll be very happy, and I'll follow your channel too. Okay. So yeah, I had a demo and I showed them. Okay, this is going to be infected by the possessed virus. It can be used with other viruses too, but one of the toughest virus back then was the possessed virus. And I showed it to them, and then it did it. And then I was so happy that it worked properly. And then one professor, there were like 5 people there. He didn't believe I was the one who wrote it. So I'm so happy that I brought my source code in Pascal, and right in front of them, I showed the code, and I made changes to my code. Because yeah, when you write the code, right, you know where to make changes. And then I made some change. It took me like maybe 2-3 minutes, and then finally I was able to convince him that I was the one who really wrote it. Yeah. So yeah, I was a programmer back then, and I really love programming. Even today, after like 30 years, so I still do coding, but not a lot anymore because I do a lot of architecting. But debugging advanced issues at work, sometimes I get pulled, and eventually I will share you my techniques on how I debug black box applications. All right. For today, like what I said, I'd like to give you an introduction of who I am, and then this will be the first section of a long video. So first one will be introduction of who I am, right? Which I already discussed, and I haven't discussed how I got to where I'm at, which is being a DevOps engineer. You've already heard how I started, okay? So even before I went to college, I was already programming, but not those like what I mentioned here, like Turbo Pascal, Fortran, or Prolog. So, and assembly, I forgot assembly language. I was already doing it at home using on TRS-80, okay? But just basic. But I have a nice foundation of what programming is. All right. And then after leaving the company where my friend brought me in 1994, I think, 1994 or maybe 1993, he moved to another company, and he asked me to join again. I think I lasted there for like maybe 6 months. I joined a bank, Citibank, as a teller. Oh no, not teller. As a sort of like a little coding, very very little coding, but more of like trading, where it was really boring, where I had to contact different people, different companies, and ask for price steer, and then where our traders will use. And I also did some minor desktop publishing where I was using one of the early Macs, the Mac machine or Macintosh, where it had a drive right below the monitor, and it was black and white. Was it black and white? I couldn't remember, but it was definitely like an 80 by what, by 50 screen, or 80 by 28. I couldn't remember anymore. But anyways, and I really enjoyed my time there for 6 months. But then my manager called me, and he said, "You know what, Neil? I don't like what you're doing. You're always talking to those ladies there. Those ladies were the traders. I was young, right? 1993. What? I was like 24, 22, or maybe 21. I couldn't remember. And he didn't like me doing that, but he didn't realize I was asking for like help about what should I do, where do I go, those stuff. And maybe he thought I was just like talking to them and talking about nonsenseless stuff. And yeah, his name is Giselle. I still remember. You know what? When someone really affects your day or ruins your year, you won't forget the name. And his name is Giselle. I know his last name, but I won't mention it. And I only lasted there for like 6 months, and I resigned. And yeah, I left, and then went back to my thesis. So yeah, that have been 1993 because I went back to my thesis. And yeah, I was so happy that I finished my thesis. And like what I said earlier, I had an award. And then fast forward 1995, I applied for a job. And another friend told me to apply because he said, "Oh, it's cool here. Lots of young people, and we do a lot of networking stuff, LAN stuff." I didn't understand what he was talking about, but during the interview, um, I brought the floppy disk of my antivirus, and I did a demo, and I got the job. So one of the few things there was to build, um, what do you call this? Like training materials. So I used Visual Basic, and I built or wrote or coded like tutorials that will be used by internal engineers. And wow, I love that thing that I built, because remember I was doing some desktop publishing in Mac back in the days. I built I built a really nice UI. The button, that it didn't just like submerge. It actually like kind of like a rubber. I made it that way. I forgot how I did it, but anyways, they love it so much. And then other things that I've been doing in that company, which is Microcircuits. I love that company a lot, even though the salary was so small. It was my starting point. We did a lot of local area network installations, and internally, maybe every Wednesday night after 6 p.m., our manager or the leaders, tech leads, would conduct trainings how to actually configure local area network switches, hubs. Oh no, there were no switches back then. Hubs, connections, wirings, pin configuration of UDP cables. I still remember them. How to crimp. I have a crimp tool right now, and they told us how to configure LAN cards, the drivers, how to configure Novell, how to configure Windows NT. Those were the days, and I was really, really, really happy with the company and my teammates, and we were teaching each other, so on and so forth. So now, those days, 1995 is when the internet started, right? And internet came in, and I was so interested about how Netscape can, or how Netscape is able to display a page, which we call web page. And I was like, where is this pictures or images coming from? How are they being laid out? So yeah, what I learned a lot from IRC. Okay, IRC, Internet Relay Chat. I don't remember how I got into relay chat, Internet Relay Chat. I first started with news groups where I posted so many questions. Yeah, I don't remember. But anyways, so I asked about. I joined sub channels like networking, those stuff, and then I asked them, "Hey, how what what tools do they use to display or to make this thing that we see on the browser like Netscape? I don't know if there was a Mozilla back then, or maybe Mozilla was the company that built Netscape. I couldn't remember. I was using Netscape browser back then. Okay, Netscape browser, and then they told me, yeah, you use tools like VI, Notepad, Joe. So those were the editors that they told me to use. And then someone said, you have to learn HTML. What the hell is HTML? And then search it, and oh, it's coding, and it has structure. And I learned a lot, and I use Notepad or TextPad or Joe. Yeah, actually Notepad is for Windows, and I was using both Windows and Linux, but I actually jumped few months ahead because I wrote VI, Joe. These are Linux stuff, and we'll get to how I got to Linux shortly. So yeah, I installed Internet Relay Chat software on my Windows machine, which I believe is a Windows 95. Yeah, Windows 95, not Windows 3.1. So Windows 95, and I joined a lot of stuff, and then I was always in front of my computer until like 3 or 4 a.m. almost every day. And then back to microcircuits where I actually work. We were sent to fields, and we were asked to install networking like cabling, installing hubs, and then we would connect the Novell server or Windows NT server, because our main product, microcircuits main product, was about POS, point of sales, and it uses Novell as the backend. For Windows NT, it was our kind of like authentication, and we use it for domain controller, as a domain controller. And then about 6 months after I joined microcircuits, I was in the lobby of our company, microcircuits, in Saville building in Buendia, or Sevilla, maybe Seville. There was a guy there sitting and waiting for someone. And then I don't know if I was the one who approached him, or maybe he was the one who started the conversation. I was really thankful for this guy. Okay? His name is Santi. I still remember because he was a big part in my Linux journey. Okay? So that day, that afternoon, in the lobby of microcircuits, he said, hey, do you want to learn Linux? What is Linux? Oh, it's blah blah blah, another operating system, and they use it for internet. Sure, yeah. If you have any questions, you can just email me. This is my email, and here's the 13 5 and 5 inch 1/4 5 and 1/4 inch floppy diskettes, which is a Slackware version 3 installer. Slackware 3 or 2, I couldn't remember. Let's just use 3, doesn't matter. And Linux, I'm just gonna write it now too. That's where I started, Linux 1.2.13. And he gave me tips on how to start via emails, and he was so he was so very dedicated in helping me. He was like an angel. I've been trying to look for that guy and I could not find him anymore. I know his last name. Couldn't find him on Facebook. Couldn't find him in YouTube, in LinkedIn. No, I cannot. I don't know where he's at. But anyways, this was mid of or maybe August of 1995. I started Slackware, and he helped me a lot. I was able to follow instruction from what's that site? LTDP Linux.org. Is that correct? LTDP, or TLDP. Anyways, search for the Linux project. Okay, and Linux how-tos. Okay, so he told me follow these how-tos as much as possible. If you can do all of them, don't have to rush, just follow it. If you have any questions, ask me. So one of the things I wanted, because back in the days I have a how do you call this? I have a internet cafe in the Philippines. We have 4 computers and US Robotics Sportster modem, and then a Windows 95 which runs Wingate. Okay, Wingate is a proxy and it allows machines behind it to be able to browse the internet using single account. Wingate. Do you guys remember Wingate? Pretty cool, right? I downloaded it from twocows.com. This twocows.com website was back then was a site which shared a lot of so many tools, different tools for internet, and you can download stuff like Wingate and so on. It's well organized. But about a few months ago, I visited this site. It was different now. It looks so like professional site. It's different now. And then I had Windows 95 sharing a single account for my customers, and it was not stable. So then I asked in chat, because I also learned in chat there's a Linux help channel in EFNet in IRC. And then I asked for help there, and then it told me you can do IP masquerading. This is one of the first things I learned in Linux. So IP masquerading, what IP masquerading does is it's kind of like Wingate, but it's way more stable, and it will share your single connection to the internet, where it uses PPP interface, and then your internal network to be able to allow your clients, computer clients, to be able to browse the internet. And it worked a lot better than Wingate. And then this was the day as well. This were the time when I got very interested in hacking or security. It was also in either Linux Help or Linux Channel where my Linux got owned. And then suddenly the clients was not able to browse the internet anymore. I was like, what's going on? And then I ran ls and nothing was in there. Nothing was in my... I was really wondering what the hell happened. I could not launch anymore the IRC. So I rebooted my Linux machine, the Slackware, and then first thing I saw after it booted up was kernel panic. I tried going to the BIOS, nothing, no help. And then after a day, I decided, you know what? Let's reinstall Slackware. And I reinstalled Slackware, and I joined IRC again, and then I asked, hey guys, sorry, I'm back. If you were telling me something, I was like, my machine died, I don't know why, and I saw kernel panic. And then some guy by the name of, I couldn't remember his name, but he was saying a user, IRC user named Ghost, was telling you so many times and you were ignoring him, and he got so pissed off. He was saying your Washington IMAP D, which runs on port 143, which runs on port 43, was actually open, and the IMAP D Washington version that I was running was actually vulnerable to some exploit. And I was like, what the hell are you talking about? I don't know. I don't understand those terms. And he explained it in layman term. Oh, basically your Linux might have installed a software. So maybe you installed everything because you're new. You want everything, right? And then it launched or started IMAP-D, and your connection to the internet didn't have any firewall, which actually made IMAP-D and the PPP interface accessible from the hostile internet. And because you were not listening to him, he hacked it. And I was like, wow, that is really cool. I want to learn that. So he told me, okay, join the security channel. And then he asked me to also visit some websites, like, I don't know if this site is still up and running. I haven't, packetsecurify.org. Just check it, guys, or com.com or .net. I don't remember anymore. And then so many more websites that I was checking daily, like up to 3 or 4 a.m. And I was like playing with tools and blah 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 blah. And I even bought a CD from the internet, which I don't know if I still have it. Maybe if I do, I'm gonna superimpose the diskette. Sorry, not the diskette, the CD. And it contained hacker tools like John the Ripper, but you'll see the cover on the CD. Hopefully I'll find it. I remember I kept it. I didn't throw it away. But anyways, so that's how I got into security, because of that incident where my Slackware got owned. So I became interested in firewalls, security. It was not at this time where I started learning how to scan networks. So it was like a year after this. What else did I do? Yeah, so I started to learn like IP chains, okay, which is now, I believe it's called IP tables. And then few years later, I learned FreeBSD and OpenBSD, and I had a small sideline job where I built and installed web servers, IPF firewalls, Snort, which is actually a network intrusion detection system. What else? Postfix. I love Postfix. It's an SMTP server. Okay. And then and so many more. I did a lot of these back in the days, and I learned a lot. I learned a lot of these. So this was the time when I was still in microcircuits. That was from 1995 to 1997, and then I moved to no, I didn't move. I got pirated. So pirated by a telecommunications company, because we got invited as part of a project. I was the one who got assigned to that work. It was a remote learning project made by Alcatel, although I didn't finish the project because I moved to the US. So my role with microcircuit was to deploy web servers, remote learning, and then also with some help in networking as well. And then I was working with Alcatel sales people and some people who were working on routers. All right, and then yeah, they saw what I was doing, and now I mentioned about routers and networks. I've already heard about this in when I was so interested on how web pages were being displayed in the Netscape browser, right? So someone in the networking channel in did I write it networking? Yeah, maybe I didn't write the networking here. Yeah, but I joined networking channel in EFNet, and then I asked, hey, how does a web page gets transferred to my computer? And they told me about routers and networking, and I was like, what the wow? So that's how it is. And in microcircuits, what we usually do there was mostly point of sales, and we were using protocol which is like IPX, SPX protocols, and for Windows we were using NetBEUI protocol. I don't know if that's spelled correct, and it's a Win group protocol. Yeah, so these were the non TCP/IP protocols, and TCP/IP I learned it from the IRC chat, and yeah, so I became so interested, and they told me what routers can do, and I became so interested in routers. All right, and then what I did is step back a little. So I made a web page for the demo for the Alcatel remote learning project. What they did is, because they like me so much, because I'm a very friendly guy. Uh, they actually pirated me from microcircuits, and I joined Alcatel. And in Alcatel, it's a telecommunications company. It's where I learned most of the LAN and WAN. Okay, WAN is wide area network, where we use uh, big switches. I didn't do that. I did a little, but just trainings, and where we use, like, they call it switches. They're like big. They're like PABX size, and then also frads. Okay, frads. They are frame relay devices. Back in the days, we were using frame relay. Okay, or maybe E1, T1 connections, which are 1.45 Mbps. That's the backbone of our internet, of maybe company branch to branch. That's the fastest that we can go to. That's really slow, guys. It's a serial communication. And anyways, so I learned a lot. Routers, we configured Cylon devices. It's a switch. I learned a lot about VLANs. This was from 1997 to 99, okay? And on the side, at home, I was doing some self-study about hacking those stuff because I really wanted to become a security dude. But in the end, what happened was I became just an engineer with so many skills like coding, LAN, WAN, security, which actually helped to where I am at now. I'm a DevOps engineer. Okay, I love being a DevOps engineer because I do architecting. I'll become a DevSecOps in the future, but I'm already introducing security stuff in what I do right now. I do a lot of PCI stuff, and then I design and also include how to protect applications that's being deployed by developers by putting guardrails in our pipeline. All right. So, yeah, guys, that's my short history of how I was doing, of how I became a principal DevOps engineer. Okay. It's fun. I like it a lot. And what else? Web development. Yeah. The company where I'm at right now, I joined in 2015. I got hired as a senior front end engineer, but I was actually a full stack engineer because I have background in networking, coding, APIs, security, and didn't want to boast, but I thought my teammates stuff that they were not familiar with, like the networking, security stuff, pipelines, and how it worked. And it was in the same company where I actually got moved to the DevOps team. Okay, yeah. So first few weeks, I remember this. One of the DevOps engineer, they taught us how to use their tooling, which actually was used for deploying immutable infrastructure. I was so interested. You know what? This is the type of guy I am. I always embrace new technology. I don't say, oh, I'm going to stick to an old technology and that's the correct way. No, I'm not like that. I'm going to listen to the person because I know this person is younger than me and I will listen to him. And then what I usually do is I combine whatever I've learned and to whatever they're doing. So they explain to me what immutable infrastructure is, what changes that needs to be made in the project to be able to deploy an application. Okay, so then I deployed my first basic web application, and I had some how do you call this, hurdles. I faced wall and then couldn't get it to work. And then I decided, you know what? Let me study this pipeline. I was trying to figure out how it works, and I saw the logs. Oh my God, this is Linux. They're using Linux, and right? I started Linux in 1995, and I was like, oh my God, I love this. Okay, let's do this. What I did is I actually tried to override what they were doing. And then I actually updated their pipeline. But I'm glad that it didn't break anything. But I'm sure I did not. I'm pretty sure what I was doing was it's gonna do what it's gonna do. And then I was waiting for a few days if someone's gonna reach out to me. Oh my God, after 3 days, this guy, he's a very nice guy. He reached out to me. Dude, what did you do? He was like, I would like to learn that. He was like, you were able to modify some of our back end pipeline codes. They're not supposed to be modified because they're secured. But how did you get around it? And then it was actually, I hope I can find it in the Slack channel. I hope it's there. I don't know. It's been a while since that's 1996. Sorry, 2016. Okay. I jumped so many years ahead because my video is taking so long. So he asked me how I did it, and then he that was actually in a private, but in the public chat he said, "Dude, we should watch you. We should be careful. We should be monitoring you from now on." But he added a smiley there. So yeah, I was in the front end team back then, where I was doing web development. We were using, oh my God, what's that library? And I hated it. Oh my God, it's a JavaScript library. It was good though. It was not React.js. I was the person who introduced React.js to the team, but no one was listening to me. In 2016, nobody listened to me about React.js. I just built applications. I built monitoring, and they used it. But for the airline application, they didn't use React.js. That was in 2016, and I felt so bad actually. But I was just quiet about it. It's okay. And then also another thing that really helped me as to why I'm gonna suggest that you study on your own. Maybe ask people around you. Go to like IRC or forums. Don't be shy asking questions. Because when I joined that company in 2015, they were using Squid Proxy, and I was new. I was like 2 weeks in the company, and there were 3 engineers there. That's been like years ahead of me. And these 3 people, one of them was my manager, and 2 of them was the senior front end engineer, and they did not agree with what I think about Squid Proxy. And I used Squid Proxy for so many years. I deployed it, I built it for my clients using FreeBSD or OpenBSD. So I am very familiar with Squid Proxy. So they bet me, okay, Neil, you are wrong. Neil, you are wrong. No. But I was really kind with my tone. I was new back then. Maybe 2 weeks was actually a exaggeration. Maybe 1 month. Let's say 1 month. So we were debugging something, and the web app that they built, the one that's being used in airplanes, like for example, like Alaska, Delta, Gull, United, Virgin, those were our clients. There are more airlines that we actually deploy our web applications. So, but in the building, they said, "No, Neil, you're wrong." All right, sure, it's okay. Let's do this test. I showed them. Let's use your machine. Let's use your laptop, and I will prove you wrong. Okay. So I was 1 month old back then with the company, and then I configured it and then showed them how to properly configure browsers, how it actually works, and then they started testing. All right, now let's do this, and blah 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 blah. And after like 30 minutes of testing, because they still wanted to um, make sure I was doing it incorrectly. And after that, all right, Neil, you win. I did, and they said we did not know that's how it is done. And from that day on, um, I finally got my, like, what's that thing? The respect. Okay. So they asked me, "Hey Neil, how do you do this?" Blah 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 blah. And I was the one. I was always the guy facing the DevOps engineers because I know a lot in networking, like the protocols, TCP/IP, web security. So it helped a lot. It helped a lot. I'm really really happy because yeah, I studied a lot in my home setup, in my home laboratory. I have here, I had like many servers, like 4 servers. Oh, I forgot, I also bought cisco cisco oh, I can't type. Cisco 2501 router. This was in the Alcatel days, 1997 to 1999. No, 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 I was wrong. This is when I moved to the US in 2001. Yeah, this was in 2001, where I was an engineer, a network engineer. And we were asked to also do field works, like installing routers, configuring networks, installing Windows NT, Novell, and then also security. Yeah, this was a nice company. I stayed there for like 1.5 years, and I moved to a different company, which is Washington Mutual. Yeah, so I wanted to find out how routing layer 3 of OSI, okay, open systems interconnect. I think that's what OSI means. There are 7 layers, right? And I love reading a lot, guys. You gotta learn this stuff. This 7 layers, you gotta read about them. Search about them. Also search for RFCs. You better read RFC documents. Like for example, RFC 1918. Okay, it's about non-routable IP addresses. Okay, there are 3 classes of RFC 1918, which is 10.x.x, and then 172.16 to the 172. Is it 31, guys? Yeah, I think 31. And lastly, and 192.168x. Okay, this is class C. I won't go into details because I might be saying wrong things here. Okay, it's been a while, so I've read these documents like in early 2000. So it just stayed in my brain, so that's why I remember stuff. And fast forward to 2025, which is now, I still do this stuff. I don't stay late anymore. Maybe like 1 a.m., but I still try to study a lot. My studying hasn't diminished. So what I'm doing now is I am building automated pipeline, which will help our developers in making their lives easier. Because back in the days, how does it work? They build their stuff, they build their web application, they compile their Java code, they zip it, They use FTP or SSH to upload it to the web server. And some people who doesn't know how to use Linux, what do? They ask someone to upload it for them, extract it for them, and then make DNS, a vanity URL, those stuff. Okay? So the automated pipeline, we already have. There's an already existing automated pipeline that the DevOps team made when I was in that company. And then it's old. It uses Spinnaker for deployment, and then some Python backend API tools that actually talks to Python API calls to AWS. Okay, to build AWS resources, to build, deploy AWS resources like EC2, Lambda functions, and so on. Okay. So there's wrong spelling here. All right. Cool. Yeah. There's many more. What I'm doing now is I'm writing a brand new one, and I am using. We're still on AWS. We didn't transfer a different provider. We're still using AWS services. What I'm using now is AWS CDK. And then I use this to build the pipeline along with GitLab CI, and then some Python code that will actually talk to AWS to build resources. They call it what's that term? Oh my god, I forgot the AWS CDK term. Constructs, okay? CDK constructs. I love this, guys. You run CDK deploy or destroy to actually deploy services. So what I'm doing here is the developer will put the resource they want in a Git project, specify it in a folder, and then my code, okay, I don't want to say our team's code will parse their Git project, and then it will talk to AWS to build the resources like application load balancer, EC2, ECS, deploy the web application, security groups, and so on and so forth. So because of the course I took, and because I love it, computer science, and I love how internet works, how they're built, how packets gets transmitted over a wire. This learning all of this paid off to where and what I'm doing right now. So if you guys want to become a DevOps engineer, it's not overnight. Okay? It's not. You can use ChatGPT and ask for some codes. Yeah, that'll do it. But if I am your interviewer and I ask you, I won't have sympathy to you or for you. I'm gonna ruin your day. I'm gonna ask you really difficult questions. We're gonna debug stuff on the board, and I'm gonna make sure that you really know what you're talking about. Because ChatGPT, and then you share it in your Git project, and then you share the link to the interviewers. That looks cool, right? What about debugging? Nope. I've already interviewed people, and oh my god, they cannot explain. They will mumble. They will try to say things that aren't totally unrelated. They try to say highly technical abbreviations. But I'm sorry, dude. I was I read a lot of abbreviations back in the days, and I still remember some of them. So those those stuff that you just mentioned, dude, you're wrong. But I don't tell it that way. I say it in a I say it in a very nice way. And then yeah, so yeah, I'm really happy being a DevOps engineer because I get to do the stuff I love, which is coding, debugging, and then I love thinking a lot. And now I'm architecting, which is even awesome. And then as part of this, I'm a security guy as well. And yeah, um, that's my journey in to becoming a DevOps engineer. I'm really really happy, guys. If you have any questions, guys, let me know. I'm sorry I don't have any drone video at the moment. I'll be sharing a drone video definitely because I love drones. DIY drone. I'm not referring to those commercial drones like DJI. I'm referring to drones that we actually assemble, FPV drones, where we buy parts separately, like the arms, the flight controller, the ESC, the motors, the propellers, the batteries. We solder them and then we tune them with tools like Betaflight or iNav or KISS. It is phenomenal, guys. That's just my hobby. But unfortunately, guys, I'm so sorry. It's raining. It's snowing hard right now. I heard the truck, the snowplow truck, he just passed. So maybe we have about 2 inches of snow now. So I won't have any FPV video today. All right. But luckily, yeah, this thing here is how I got into where I am right now. And yeah, there are so many things that I didn't discuss, okay? But this should be good enough for you to, for it to help you how to get here. Again, it's not overnight. You can be a chat GPT engineer overnight, but in debugging black boxes, I won't count on you. Yeah, so that's another thing, but guys, I always feel so honored every time I hear, like, hey, maybe you try calling Ranil, try calling Neil. He might have some idea. We have some issues about 3 weeks ago of an application that I didn't know, and I got invited to a conference call. I was shocked. There were like 25 people. Oh my god. So I didn't butt in right away. I was just listening, trying to listen to what they're talking about. And then and I found out they've been debugging it for 3 days. All right. So then I think someone reached out to me. Hey, Renil, thanks for joining. Maybe you can help. Sure. All right. Okay. Tell me all the instance IDs. Instance ID is an AWS terminology, and I started debugging, and then since having a very good foundation in networking, in TCP/IP protocols, in debugging, oh my God, debugging issues of any application is really easy. Okay. So the first thing I asked him was, okay, how do you access this web application? What are the backend? What are the upstream? Tell me all the names. And then, all right, okay, I have 2 sessions or 3 sessions, SSM or SSH. And then, can you please do the reach out or execute the command that makes it fail? And then I was watching the logs, or maybe I was running netstat in a for loop manner, or while through shell script which runs netstat. And then I found out some SYN packets. Okay, SYN scene packets. I won't share the exact netstat command because I want you guys to learn. It made me, how do you call this? It took me a while to learn all this stuff. And I want you to take that route. Because if someone tells you, you'll forget it. Okay? So I use netstat inside a while loop, while true loop, all right, which will actually monitor, or you can use TCP dump, but the first thing that came into my mind was while true loop running netstat inside it. Okay, and I told him, all right, execute it, and then boom, bada bing, I saw scene packets. I already knew right away something was wrong. But for anyone who doesn't know anything about networks, what the hell is netstat? Why is he running netstat inside a while? What's the output of netstat? What does scene packets mean? What did it display? Nope, you can't. You won't learn it overnight. It requires many experiences and then being on the computer for so many years. That's the only downside, guys. I almost damaged my right eye right now, so I gotta see our retinologies. I've got a blister on my right retina, so my right eye is kind of like dark. You cannot see it, but there's like a gray blob blocking my right vision, which is annoying. It's like there's a sunglass on my right eye. That's the difference, right? Clear on left eye and then dark on right eye. But it goes away once I step away from computer for weeks. All right. So I should stay like maybe or stand up every hour to rest my eye, and it will go away. It's really annoying, guys. Anyways, yeah. So I was invited to that call, and I was able to figure out what the culprits were, and I gave them the instructions on how to fix it. And it has happened so many times in the company where I'm at. I've fixed so many black boxes there. So yeah, DevOps is not just being called DevOps. You have to learn all this stuff. Okay? Yeah, Linux doesn't matter if it's Debian, Slackware. I'm now using Debian. This machine right now that I'm on, it's Debian. But I've used Fedora, I've used SUSE, I've used OpenBSD, I've used FreeBSD. I don't know if I use NetBSD, maybe just a little. And I have used so many different FreeBSDs. I've used many different Linux, and I was so interested in them. Anyways, guys, my voice is kind of tired now. I'm running out of breath, and I'm hoping you guys learned a lot. If you have any more questions, please comment. Place them there. I will read, and I'm gonna answer you. Okay. So next session. This is kind of long now. Maybe I'm gonna be uploading a different video. For our next, I am thinking about building a web application from scratch, which will next episode, build a web app that talks to Node.js, which talks to MySQL or MariaDB or PostgreSQL to pull the data, and we will be using React.js. We'll be using Node.js. We'll use NVM for installing it, and then we will use Docker containers Docker containers to serve all those 3 containers to serve 3 apps, which is the React.js, Node.js, MySQL. Okay, and then it won't be very how do you call this, like smooth, because the way I teach, I don't want to hide anything. Unlike other videos I've seen, it's short, maybe good for advanced people, but for people who are starting, they don't know what to do. They get stuck, and then, oh, you executed this command and I encountered an error. What do I do? So we're gonna show errors here in this next episode. I like that. All right. So I think that would be the next episode that I'm gonna do. I think that would be cool. This is gonna take some time to build the whole thing. It might take an hour to finish this thing. Yeah, it's gonna be fun, guys. It's gonna be fun. You will learn a lot from this thing, and you will be very excited to come to work, and then with the heads up, and then, hey, I'm a new person. I'm a new developer. I now know how to debug networking. Yeah. And then your friends, your office mates are like, I'm gonna stick to programming. That's where I'm paid. Yep. Those are people like that. I have teammates like that. Well, I'm not like that. And everything paid off from a Microsoft Word installer. Where am I at now? I'm a principal DevOps engineer, and I'm very happy with all the hard work I did. And hopefully you'll get there too. It's patience, guys. It's patience. Alrighty, guys. That's all I wanted to share. If you have any questions, please do write it in the comment section. Alrighty. Thank you. Bye.